Put that gun down or I'm calling the police. That's the first thing that came out of Karen Mitchell's mouth the morning she trespassed onto our ranch, spotted my wife's holstered Glock, and lost her mind right there in the garden. She actually dialed 911, voice trembling, shrieking about an armed woman threatening her life on HOA property. Next thing you know, 3 cop cars come screaming up the dirt drive, sirens blaring loud enough to wake the dead. I watched Officer Rodriguez step out and just about faint on the spot. Face gone, ghostly, hands shaking, voice barely a whisper. "Oh God, ma'am, I didn't know it was you." Meanwhile, Karen kept jabbering, "Arrest her," now completely clueless about who my wife really was. And let me tell you, this was about to turn into the wildest morning of our lives. Let me back up a sec. My name's Marcus Thompson. I'm 35, and I make custom furniture out here on our little 5-acre patch of Texas. My wife Sarah and I thought moving out here would buy us some peace and quiet. You know what I mean? We were running from city chaos, but apparently chaos wears hot pink suits and calls herself the HOA president. I'm not kidding. Karen Mitchell. Blonde Bob Gucci sunglasses in any weather attitude, set to CEO of the neighborhood. The worst kind of neighbor, the one who treats every property line like a battlefield. That morning, Sarah's just minding her business, watering tomatoes in jeans and an old tea holster on her hip. Yeah, she always carries, and for good reason. What nobody but me knew at the time, Sarah had just been sworn in as the new police chief 3 weeks earlier. But she wanted to keep it low-key. Really get to know folks without the badge in the way. She wanted to be a regular neighbor before being the law, which is just Sarah, through and through. That little secret, it was about to backfire in the wildest way. I was out in my workshop when I heard the screeching. At first I thought Sarah had stepped on a snake, but nope, it was Karen, face white as paper, frozen at our gate, eyes locked on Sarah's holstered gun like it was a rattler about to strike. "Put that gun down," Karen screamed, hands in the air, panic in her voice, real genuine fear, not just her usual bossy nonsense. Sarah, cool as ever, held her hands up, calm. "As you please, ma'am. I have a permit. We're on private property." But Karen wasn't hearing any of it already. Dialing 911. Screeching, "Guns or death guns. Killed my husband. I'm calling the police right now." Sarah sent a quick text later. I found out she messaged Captain Stevens, her deputy. "Karen's calling 911 to make a false report about me. Please have the HOA files ready." She was 2 steps ahead before the sirens even hit our road. Minutes felt like hours. Karen shouting into her phone, playing up the armed lunatic angle for the dispatcher, then eyeing me like I was a backup thug. I probably did look rough, covered in sawdust, old tank top hair, wild from a late night in the shop, but come on, I'm just a guy who loves woodwork. Karen was already way too deep in her own fantasy. What Karen didn't know, and what was going to blow up her entire world, was that Sarah had spent the last 6 months quietly investigating the HOA. Missing funds, phony special assessments, families run out of their homes. It all pointed to Karen, but Sarah didn't want to go public until she had proof. Turns out Karen's own 911 call was about to tie up the whole investigation in a bow. So the cop cars pull up. Officer Rodriguez steps out, and you can just see the gears grind to a halt in his head when he spots Sarah. "Ma'am, Chief Thompson?" He stammers, and Karen's head whips around so fast I thought her sunglasses would fly off. "Chief, what? What are you talking about?" Sarah calmly shows her badge, voice soothing. "You're doing fine. Rodriguez just handled this by the book." Karen grabs the badge, convinced it's fake, starts shouting, "This is a setup, you're all in on it." That's about when her son Brad comes jogging up, phone out, live streaming his mom's meltdown for the world. "Yo everyone, my mom is losing it with the cops, and suddenly it wasn't just us watching." Now here's the twist you didn't see coming. Rodriguez finally steady confirms for everyone. "This is Police Chief Thompson, ma'am. She's my boss." Karen just stands there, heels wobbling, the whole world dropping out from under her feet. She tries to argue HOA rules. "No weapons allowed. I don't care if you're the president." But just then Captain Stevens rolls in, gives Sarah a sharp salute, and quietly lets Karen know calling 911 with a false report is a felony. You could see Karen's reality unraveling right there in the driveway, rage, then terror, then wild accusations of police brutality, as Brad kept rolling the neighborhood gathering in the background. Sarah, calm but fierce, lays it out. I've been investigating the HOA for missing money and predatory fees. Today's incident just brought it all to light. Karen goes from blustering to silent stone. Brad lowers his phone, finally realizing his mom might be in serious trouble. But then another knock at the door, another twist. Tom Davis, retired, HOA accountant, clutching a cardboard box full of documents. I think it's time someone knew the truth, he says, voice shaking. Turns out Karen had been funneling HOA security fees straight into her own bank account, over $500,000 in 5 years, supposedly for neighborhood security that never existed. Sarah gets busy photographing receipts, tracking every cent. Brad, meanwhile, is dealing with his own crisis. His live stream goes viral. Neighbors and strangers alike piling into the comments, sharing stories of Karen's threats and mysterious fees, the vacations, the new cars. Brad starts to realize he's been living off the suffering of people his mother hurt. The guilt is like a tidal wave. By the next night, Karen tries to control the narrative, calling a special HOA meeting. The place is packed, everyone buzzing with rumors. Karen comes in guns blazing, well, figuratively claiming she's the real victim. But Sarah's ready. She's got a projector, a mountain of evidence, and the calm confidence of someone who knows the truth is on her side. Bank statements, receipts, everything laid bare. $580,000 gone, no security ever hired, just luxury goods, trips, and cars. It goes from tense to explosive. Mrs. Johnson, a widow, breaks down in tears, telling the room how she had to sell her late husband's coin collection to pay Karen's mandatory fee. Brad stands up, voice shaking, calls out his mom. Tell them it's not true. Tell them you didn't steal from our neighbors. And then, like a movie, the double doors burst open. And in come the FBI, badges out, sidearms visible, lead agent cool as ice. Karen Mitchell, you're under arrest for embezzlement, fraud, and racketeering. Phones everywhere, people recording the HOA president getting cuffed. Maybe the only time the whole town cheered for law enforcement in unison. Turns out the FBI had been looking into Karen for months, but Sarah's evidence sealed the case. She'd been tracking the spike in foreclosures, the kickbacks, the whole web of lies. And the real kicker, Karen's ex-husband David had been working with the feds the whole time, helping them trace the money after Karen tried to pay him off in their divorce. When Karen realized even her family had turned, she just collapsed, no fight left. In court, the story went even deeper. Brad forced out of his home, living in his car until I found him, brought him to the shop and showed him what honest work looked like. Sarah's investigation and Tom's evidence led to the biggest HOA fraud conviction in state history. Over $1 million stolen, families ruined, lives upended. Karen confessed in front of the whole courtroom. I lost my mind after my husband died, tried to control everything, hurt people I cared about. I'm sorry. Judge sentenced her to 8 years. Full restitution, banned from any fiduciary job for life. You want a satisfying ending. Brad rebuilt himself, learned carpentry, paid into a restitution fund, slowly earned back the trust of neighbors his mother had wronged. Built a display case for Mrs. Johnson's coins. I can't replace what you lost, but I can help honor it. Sarah got a commendation from the mayor but kept her speech short. Justice is about making things right, not just punishing the guilty. Over time, the neighborhood healed, scars faded, but never quite gone. 5 years passed, and one day Karen showed up at Brad's shop, older, humbled, no trace of the old tyrant. Brad opened the door, hugged her, said, "Welcome home." Not forgiveness, not yet, but a start. Even Mrs. Johnson, the neighbor Karen had hurt most, sat down for coffee and said, "I'm not saying I forgive you, but I'll see if you're different now." Karen started working at a bakery, making bread for charity, living in a tiny apartment, taking the bus. At our annual barbecue, Brad addressed the crowd. My mom once tried to arrest the police chief, but the Thompsons showed me what real justice looks like, accountability with compassion. Karen stood in the back serving potato salad, and Mrs. Johnson handed her a dish towel. "You'd better help me serve." Not a perfect ending, but a real one. So that's our story, the day Karen called the cops on the police chief's wife and triggered a reckoning no one saw coming. Lesson: don't call 911 unless you know who you're dealing with. But more than that, pain's not an excuse to hurt others. Control born from fear always backfires, and even the worst mistakes don't have to define us forever. Sarah still serves Brad, builds furniture that makes people cry. Karen bakes bread and tries to be better than she was yesterday. Happy ending. Maybe, maybe not, life's messy, but if you believe in second chances, hit like, share if you've got a Karen in your HOA, and drop a comment below where are you watching from. Because I guarantee every town's got a story like this one. Only difference is ours had a shot at redemption. Peace out, y'all. And remember, be kind to your neighbors. You never know which one's the police chief.